T'Challa the Black Panther. In the Great Hunt Chapter 1, T'Challa was on the other side of the universe laying a trap for the creator of the intergalactic virus, Thanos. T'Challa's focus was distracted by the Brood Queen's now ritualistic incursions into his makeshift lab. The 10-feet-tall queen walked on the living ceiling with her 6 legs like an arachnid. Her tail whipped behind her. The beast came down the side of the wall and brushed her head against T'Challa's shoulder while she bared her fangs. She looked into his eyes in a stare down, and when he did not respond she left the lab and went elsewhere into the gigantic Acanti space whale. T'Challa put the encounters down to the short-circuiting of the Wakandan obedience implant in her brain. It had been several years since the Wakandan space fleet infiltrated and took control of this brood colony. T'Challa heard the blood-curdling noises made from the 1 million brood drones that were smaller-size duplicates of the brood queen. The beasts roamed around the innards of the space whale like parasites, but they were not mindless brutes. The brood species came from an alternate universe, and the group split into colonies controlled by a queen. Acanti space whales were captured and lobotomized by the brood to become a light-speed transport and food for the colonies. The brood also brought cybernetic technology from the alternate universe, and T'Challa believed that was the reason his lab was still functional after his presence infected it with the human techno-organic virus. T'Challa resumed his work, which was the modification of a device originally created to summon the cosmic being called Silver Surfer. T'Challa tweaked the machine so that it locked only onto Thanos' biofrequency. Hours later, T'Challa walked among the brood drones and they left him alone because they were telepathically controlled by the Queen. T'Challa went into a sack that was in the middle of the skull cavity of the Acanti. As instructed, the brood Queen then activated the Acanti's astral projection ability that was connected to the sack. The embodiment of T'Challa's subconscious mind rose from the sack and then out of the Acanti. He floated upward and he could see the dead planet that the Acanti was partially buried in. The Silver Surfer looked up at T'Challa from his position on the Acanti's dorsal fin. T'Challa went further up into outer space and he looked for a specific doorway on the astral plane. The doorway would lead him to the realm of the cosmic construct called death. He bypassed several strange causeways until he found the one Wakandan mystics spoke about, and he floated into the circular opening that was wavy like water. T'Challa floated further up and then realized that he in was something like a well that had a clear liquid-like substance. He rested his hands on the walls of the well and pulled himself up. T'Challa took a knife from his boot when he reached the surface of the well, then he climbed out of it. The Infinity Well in the realm of Mistress Death. T'Challa saw Thanos in the corridor that connected the well to the throne room of Mistress Death. "Now what, human?" asked Thanos. "You have reached so high to fall so far back down." Thanos moved aggressively against T'Challa, but the Black Panther was ready for him. Even though Thanos was faster and stronger than the smaller T'Challa, he was also predictable in his combat techniques. The Lord of Wakanda evaded the blue beams that came from his opponent's fists and he inserted the knife into the Thanos' left wrist. Then T'Challa made several backflips that returned him to the Infinity Well and he dived into it. Thanos came on the edge of the well and he grinned at the Black Panther, who looked at his enemy as he receded down the well. Then the purple pigmented titan pulled the knife from his wrist and dropped it into the well. T'Challa snatched the knife and then returned to the Acanti. Chapter 2. Thanos did not like puzzles that he could not solve. He recounted every detail of T'Challa's failed attack until he realized that he was tricked. Thanos went to the Infinity Well and spoke to it telepathically. "Show me where Minerva is now." The well revealed a blue-hued woman surrounded by brood drones, and Thanos telepathically reached out to her. "Are you still a prisoner of T'Challa?" asked Thanos. "Thanos, is that you? You have to rescue me. First you must do something for me. T'Challa has a sample of my blood which he will use to create a vaccine for the virus." "That's great because I am infected," said Minerva. "He will test the vaccine on you, use that opportunity to kill him," said Thanos. That is ridiculous. T'Challa intends to still feed you to the brood after this drama is over as punishment for your crimes against humans. He merely wants you as a guinea pig, said Thanos. Then attack his mind telepathically, said Minerva. It is not so easy to do that with him due to his experience, said Thanos. Then he telepathically went to the Brood Queen and once again he tried to free her of the obedience implant by showing her the bloodlust that she once had when she massacred thousands of aliens over the years. Thanos had no faith that either Minerva or the Brood Queen would be able to kill T'Challa, but they could wound him, which provided an opportunity for Thanos to personally land the fatal blow. Elsewhere in the Akanti, T'Challa examined the physical knife that was made from vibranium and had passed down through the centuries from one Black Panther to the other. Thanos' blood was on the blade because whatever happened in the astral plane affected the physical plane. T'Challa assumed that Thanos made the virus in the spiritual realm, hence the reason that the infection also affected a victim's soul. The realm of the death was the one most associated with Thanos, and T'Challa theorized that the Titan used the realm to monitor the success of his work. Thanos' extreme regeneration nature meant that the virus would have negligible effects on him, so the Black Panther combined the Titan's blood and biofrequency to create batches of a trial vaccine, but more was needed. T'Challa expected Thanos to arrive once the Titan figured out that a vaccine was close, so the Black Panther made a contingency plan. Chapter 3 The crystal dome protruded the skin of the Akanti's back, and inside of the dome was a deep space communications array which T'Challa used to send the breakdown of the proposed vaccine to Wakanda and Dr. Reed Richards on Earth. It was then that he finally got the message about the quarantine zone on the outskirts of Pluto. T'Challa imagined the scene where human science vessels waited with dead bodies inside of them. Some of the dead bodies would be incinerated or jettisoned into space. Wakanda's space fleet was docked in the Biafra solar system, where there was a direct teleportation doorway to Wakanda. Hopefully the trial vaccine would be successful to allow the survivors to return to their loved ones. Then he administered the vaccine to himself via the dispenser that he created. The device had the outer shell of large barrel gun, and it fired a biofrequency wave that struck both the physical and spiritual nature of its target. He called the Silver Surfer. The cosmic being had a dull color and patches of gray were on his forearms. "I feel something coursing through my body," said Silver Surfer when he received the vaccine. Using Thanos' own body to fight against his evil work is rather poetic. "Now for Minerva," said T'Challa. They went to the lowest level of the Akanti, where a cadre of brood guarded the Kree Supreme Scientist. The guards parted for the Black Panther to pass. There were glassy spots on the side of the Kree's face due to the infection. "What is that in your hand?" asked Minerva. "An experiment," replied T'Challa. "It might very well lead to a cure." The Brood Queen came down wall that was behind of the group, and T'Challa noticed something was odd this time about her movements. She was docile as she slowly approached, as though she wanted to get as close as possible before revealing her murderous intent. "Silver Surfer, we have a problem," said T'Challa. The guards leapt at T'Challa, but he reacted faster than them and ended up jumping onto their flat heads. Minerva intercepted T'Challa when he moved from one beast to the other, and she pushed him against a wall. The Black Panther dropped a hard elbow at the point where her neck met her shoulder, which stunned her. The Brood Queen flew by T'Challa with her massive insect-like wings. She was pursued by the Silver Surfer. Then out of the chaos T'Challa sensed a teleportation portal, and he smelt Thanos through his hyper senses. The Black Panther dislocated Minerva's shoulder and tossed her aside. Meanwhile, a battalion of brood drones flew into the area to defend their queen, and it led to a cramping of the space between Thanos and the Black Panther. "This is for my emissary," shouted the Black Panther to Thanos seconds before he pressed a secondary button on the vaccine gun. A reversed biofrequency latched onto Thanos and dissected him into several pieces. T'Challa cut through the armor-plated drones with his knife, and he took up one of the Titan's severed arms. The Brood Queen shrieked and died at the hands of the Silver Surfer. Instantly a hormonal vapor came from her body which sent the colony into a new frenzy to appoint a queen from their ranks through combat. "Silver Surfer, it is time to leave," shouted T'Challa. "Take Minerva with us." Hours later, the Biafra solar system, by using Thanos' arm, more of the trial vaccine was synthesized. A sedated Minerva showed improvements in terms of the virus, and so too Silver Surfer. T'Challa went to his emissary to the Kree Empire, who was still alive after being one of the first humans to contract the virus. She was on a ventilator and other apparatus. T'Challa hoped that it was not too late for her to recover. Then T'Challa had a video call with the Parliament of Wakanda and explained what had happened since he had left Earth. The Parliament advised that even though the trial vaccine showed promise, it was prudent for Wakanda's space fleet and T'Challa to remain in quarantine for a little longer to avoid a second wave mutation of the virus reaching Earth. "Well, then I will give my congratulations to the next Black Panther in advance," said T'Challa, because the annual ceremony that allowed any Wakandan citizen to challenge for leadership of the country was a few days away, and T'Challa would not be able to defend his Black Panther mantle. Next story, the Challenge Day machinery.